Hello there and welcome to Recon Paint Gaming. I'm Patrick. Today we're going to be unboxing the YT2400 Light Freighter that was released recently by AMG, or actually a re-release because it was originally in the first edition by FFG, but now it's finally available. It's in its 2.0 packaging here, and we have got it. So without further ado, let's open the box and take a look inside. Okay, first thing you're obviously going to notice is that it's available in Rebel and Scum faction. It definitely has a new paint job, and we're just going to compare the old chip versus the new. You're going to see there's a lot less exhaust marks. The colors are a little bit more vibrant or brighter, and a little bit more crisp in the lines, so not as much damage or, wear and tear on the ship itself. So leave a comment below. Let me know what you think is better, the new or the old, or sorry, the old or the new. Forgive my missing turret. I, put them on with a magnet. And also, it looks like they painted the guns a solid gray instead of just the same color as the ship. So, personally, I think it's a little bit, pops a little bit more. It's a little bit more intimidating on the board. It's going to really stand out. And we're also going to tell you why it's going to stand out with its cards and abilities. So let's open the box. All right. First, as always, is the cardboard. What you're immediately going to notice is it only comes with two pilots. It no longer has the generic pilot. It only has Dash and Lebo at the same initiatives. You're going to get a rigged cargo chute. Of course, 2 dials for Scum and for Rebel. Some shields, some charges, some focus and calculates and evades. There were some mentions that some of the focus have an evade on the back of them, and that might, seem like an issue. I think that's rather clever. It saves on space, and it also allows you to, when you fly Lebo, you can use them as calculates. When you fly them as Dash, you can use them as focus. And then, of course, some nice stress tokens, and there's going to be a reason why there's some stress tokens in this pack. So, first up are the pilot cards. You will get a Lebo, you will get a Dash, but this is going to be for Rebel only. So you're not going to get an actual Scum card unless it's one of the standard loadouts. And then on top of that, you will get the Outrider title. We're going to cover that in a minute. I'm just going to go over the insides of the cards. There's your rigged cargo chute, your veteran turret gunner, which is interesting to say the least. Again, we will go for why in a minute. On top of that, you're going to get Lone Wolf, a proton rocket, a hotshot gunner, a heavy laser cannon, and a Lando crew, which is rather interesting that came in the box. I like it. Lando's an excellent ability for Rebel. Action, roll 2 defense die. For each focus result, gain a focus. For each evade result, gain 1 evade. If both results are blank, the opposing player chooses focus or evade. You gain 1 token of that type. So, few things. This Outrider title is different from its original, and I'm glad that I waited, because the titles have changed abilities, and the old title is now banned. So you can't really use it anymore unless it's in your friendly play, or if someone says that they allow it in the tournament that they're using. But as of right now, the old title is banned. The new one is going to read a little bit different. So with the new Outrider title, while you perform a primary attack at range 3, roll 1 additional attack die. While you perform an attack that is obstructed by an obstacle, you may change one of the defender's evade results to a focus. So now this thing is going to be somewhat of a beast at range 3. It's going to then, of course, have your 3 attack die plus the 1 if it's at range 3. And it's going to be even more deadly if it's shooting through an obstacle, making it to where you almost have Juke already assigned to your pilot. And you can equip these both to Lebo and Dash, and the standard loadouts are also going to have those as well. I just wanted to let you know that they recently changed the document. That is now the official Outrider title. The old one is now banned. Okay, now looking at the actual pilots here. We have Dash in Initiative 5, Lebo at 3. You're going to have 4 shields, 6 hull, 2 defense, and a standard of 3 attack with a mobile arc that can fire in 2 directions. And then we have the Sensor Blackout. While you perform a primary attack at range 0 to 1, you roll 1 less attack die. While you defend at range 1, you roll 1 less defense die. So they're really making it to where it is hindered at range 1. It's more effective at range 3. So, I mean, with these cards, because they are actual pilot cards and they're going to have their own loadouts, you can actually put, different abilities that's going to make them a little bit more at range 3, which is where you're going to want to be. Especially since if you look, there is the focus, target lock, red barrel roll, and then rotating the arc. So even if you put on a talent on Dash that allows him to barrel roll white rather than red, you can kind of move around, make sure that you get out of that range 1 bubble so that at least you can keep your attack and defense at your standard, or even possibly get to range 3 and increase your attack and even increase your defense because it is range 3. So now, Lebo's ability, after you defend or perform an attack, if you spent a calculate token, gain 1 calculate token. So I really want to cover this one because it is tricky. It is after you defend and after you perform an attack, which if you go check out our timing video, that is after you have rolled dice, gone through the steps there, and applied damage. And if at any point during that phase you spent a calculate token, you gain 1 back. If you spent 3, you only gain 1 back. You're not going to keep gaining, or it's not going to trigger more than once. So it is a great ability, because that can tie into other things to where you can either hold on to it or possibly spend it for something else. But as of right now, make sure you remember that. So every time you attack, and if you spent a calculate while you were defending or attacking, you get to keep the calculate, or basically you regain a calculate after that. So if you're attacked 3 times, you're going to be regaining that calculate each time. But if you spent 2 calculates while defending, you're only going to get 1 back after you defended. So just keep that in mind. It is a little bit tricky with the wording. Next, we have Dash. During the engagement phase, you ignore the effects of obstacles that you are overlapping. So this is different from original Dash in first edition. Basically, he could be on, fly through an obstacle, ignore it completely, and then, go on his merry way. This is only during the engagement phase. So if you were to fly over an obstacle, you made it through, depending on the obstacle, you still get an action. You would suffer those effects. And then if for some reason you accidentally overlapped the obstacle, you might not get your action depending on what you equipped the ship with, but you still would get to engage. So if someone tries to block you onto a rock, or for some reason the only spot that you really have to go is onto a rock, you can do it. He can still engage. That's pretty effective, I'm not going to lie, especially for a large base ship and a lot of people using the larger base asteroids. Okay, so these are going to be the standard loadouts that you're going to get with the kit. Here are the 2 scum, and here are the 2 rebels. The abilities are going to be the same. Same thing with the Sensor Blackout. The real difference is that they're basically going to be scum and rebel. That's basically it. As you can see, Lebo's equipped with efficient processes, or processing seeker missiles, and the Outrider title. The ability at the end of the engagement phase, you may spend 1 calculate token to acquire a lock on an enemy that is range 2 to 3. So Lebo's ability is different on the standard loadout card than the standard pilot card. And each ability is really cool and effective because you still have efficient processing, which is after you perform a calculate action, you gain a calculate token. So you're going to get 2 calculates during the round. If you hold on to 1 at the end of the round, you'll get to spend it to obtain a target lock, which then you can use with your seeker missiles because that requires a target lock. And you spend 1 charge during the modify attack dice step. You may spend up to 2 additional charges, change 1 focus result to a hit result for each charge spent this way. You're going to have 4 charges. It is range 2 to 3 and 3 attack dice. So That's going to mean you may not have to spend those calculates during that attack phase, and that'll buy you some time because you'll shoot out the front, and then next turn you're going to plan to shoot out of your turrets on the side, and you can spend one of your calculates at the end of the turn to gain a target lock. So you can keep your offense just moving, and let me tell you, when you have a free target lock and you have 2 calculates, and let's say, you know, mixed with the Outrider title, you're going to get 4 attack dice. That's almost guaranteed 4 hits mathematically. That's if you roll 4 attack, re-roll everything that isn't a hit or a crit, and then spend your calculates after you attacked. If you end up spending all of your calculates and you can't regain that target lock, you know, that's something you're going to have to, you know, figure out. But mostly with 4 dice, things are going to take a lot of hits and a lot of damage with this Outrider title. And with Lebo being initiative 3, you can even try to make him somewhat of a blocker and then fly past whatever it is that you just blocked and make it harder for them to get around and turn around. That's what I used to do back in first edition with Eden Vril. There is nothing more satisfying than doing a 3 bank with a large base ship, barrel rolling left, and then seeing their face be like, oh, that thing can barrel roll. I totally forgot, and it's gone so much farther than I thought. Their entire list slams into you. They try, you know, to hammer you down. They can't modify your dice, and then you can just do your generic blue maneuver out of the way the next turn, and they're already having to fly past you and has to deal with the rest of your list. So trust me, there are going to be some cheeky things with Lebo. Next is going to be Dash with Mercenary. After another friendly ship at range 0 to 2 is destroyed, before it's removed from the play area, transfer one of its green tokens to yourself. Not a bad ability. I mean, we hate to see it when one of our friendly ships get destroyed, but when you know one of your friendlies is going to be destroyed, whether they spend that green token or not, and you're like, cool, at least now I can take that green token, put it on myself. Hopefully you haven't fired yet, or possibly you're get ready to defend, and you can use that token to your advantage. Next up is the Seeker Missiles, as the same on Lebo. Going to be very effective for when, you know, you're not planning to shoot out your front arc, or you want to open up with that nice joust, shoot out the front, and then start using your side arc. This actually comes with the Lebo crew, because you notice I didn't say that Lebo had his own crew card, neither does Dash in 2nd edition. So Lebo, after you repair a damage card, you may perform an action from your action bar. That's pretty amazing, especially since this thing has 6 hull. You're probably going to suffer some crits that have actions to repair them. If you were able to do that, you can still perform your focus or target lock or even a barrel roll, which that is mind-blowing because, of course, more actions means better economy. And with this, that's pretty intense. We also are going to have Dash's different ability. After you gain a red token as a result of moving through or overlapping an obstacle, you may transfer that red token to a friendly ship at range 0 to 1. So kind of like the old ability, but not really, to where you're going to have to be transferring your stress to another ship at range 0 to 1. That's going to be kind of difficult when flying through an asteroid. You're going to have to keep ships rather close. So, okay ability, you know, not as great or as good as the one where overlapping obstacle lets you engage. And then last but not least is the Outrider title, which again, attacking at range 3 gets you an additional die. And when you shoot through an obstacle, you basically change an evade to a focus result. Okay, now we're going to go into some points and the pilot card for Dash and Lebo, because standard loadouts are nice. The standard loadout cards are 6 and 7 points, 6 for Lebo, 7 for Dash. And I'm glad I waited to do this video because originally when the points came out, the Scum Lebo was 7. Now they've modified it. It was supposed to be 6. So everything's hunky-dory. Upgrades are correct. So Dash's pilot card is at 7 points with a whopping 20 points worth of upgrades. Out of the box, this is what you're going to be able to equip to Dash, which is the Outrider title, Proton Rockets, Lone Wolf, Rig Cargo Chute, and Lando, which is a lot of points to fit on here because I believe Proton Rockets is 8, Lone Wolf is 3, Rig Cargo Chute I think is around 2 or 3, and then Lando as well, which I think he's around 4 or 5 points. So if you have your own upgrades, you can start mixing and matching with Dash, put on 2 illicits, which you could do, of course, Rig Cargo Chute and a Contraband Cybernetics, or even something like Dead Man Switches, which one of my favorites is nothing better than a large base ship exploding. You can mess around with some rockets because, of course, the Seeker missiles only come on the standard loadout card. They are not a regular card, which I'm glad because they are really good. Um, Lone Wolf, very hard to pull off in this climate because it's a large base. Everyone's kind of spread out, so you might want to equip something different, like Enduring or something else that might actually extend your play a little bit longer. And then, of course, crew. I mean, Rebel have an outstanding amount of crew that you can equip on Dash. That's going to make him really a good character. Unfortunately, no gunner slots. So don't even think about double tapping. You're not going to be able to. And you might be thinking, why is there no gunner? It comes with 2 gunners. And also, why is there a cannon that comes in the pack? I will show you some quick slides here. So this is the first edition Dash, and this is the now 2.5 edition Dash. And I noticed that a lot of the art was similar to what was in the first edition Dash compared to the 2.5 Dash. So I don't know if they just decided to put cards with that because that's the art that matched up, or possibly there was something that FFG did and AMG'd follow suit, or even after the fact to where it was already boxed. And after more testing, they figured out that a gunner slot was too powerful for this ship, so they removed it after all the points and the ship came out. But don't worry, the ship still has potential. The standard loadouts are really solid, which then, of course, you can try to use Lebo. Lebo is going to be 6 points with 16 points of loadout. Unfortunately, Lebo has no crew and no gunner as well. So it's going to be a little bit more tricky. I think the standard loadout for Lebo is going to be a little bit stronger, only because of the abilities you can do with it with the 2 calculate tokens and then also getting a target lock at the end of the round. But that's just me. That's my playstyle. Let me know what you think about this pack. I mean, I'm glad the ship is now legal again. There's going to be people playtesting it and putting it on the board. I mean, not to even talk about, or not to even mention the fact that this thing can have 4 attack dice at range 3 is super powerful in this type of meta because everything is so spread out and there are objectives to where if you decide that, Dash needs to die and you go after him, he is maneuverable enough to where he's going to be a thorn in your side. He's still going to be able to get his actions and shots on you. And, it's 4 attack dice again. And if it's for some reason through a rock, it's even worse. And then on top of that, he can still shoot while overlapping a rock. So, I mean, AMG can, of course, always manipulate points, change upgrades later. I would really love it if people were testing this first rather than talking about what it doesn't have. Let's talk about what it does have and what it can do. So I'm going to start playtesting with it, see what I can do with it, because I used to love the YT 2400. I wish it had Eden Vril, which was my favorite ship to fly, but alas, no longer. But yeah, that's it for now. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys think below, and have a good one.